So I can't actually tell if this is recording, but we're going to do it live. Currently experimenting with doing some live streaming multicasting. So this should be on Twitch, on Twitter, YouTube soon, LinkedIn. We're going everywhere. Figured it'd be cool to spend some time each week just going through the newsletter, giving some additional thoughts, a way for people to access it via video for those that don't like to read. And then obviously we try to publish them for audio as well. So yeah, this week I went through and was able to publish my Medici newsletter, which was about on-chain curation and that this idea that the next wave of curators will be on-chain. It's been pretty cool to see like a bunch of people that I respect in the space kind of have the same realization, or at least put their thoughts down on paper around the same time. Blockchain Brett just put out a great piece on the on-chain creator economy. Adam Levy, who I mentioned in here, also just put out a phenomenal piece outlining his entire Web3 content stack. So there's a lot of great material out there that really can give you kind of an overview of what it means to be an on-chain creator and what that looks like in comparison to what Web2 content creation looks like. So for this newsletter, just diving in, I've really focused on what it means to curate. A lot of my ideas I pulled, and I mentioned from Adam, and a conversation that he had with Gabby Goldberg a couple weeks ago, where she made the comparison to the Louvre collecting things, and this idea that like the Louvre gains brand equity by the things that it collects as much as like it's building its brand, just because it is the Louvre. And I think I should be able to play this, see if this works.
You can think of it sort of as this analogy. You go to the Louvre to see the Mona Lisa, but you also go to see the Mona Lisa because it's in the Louvre. And by way of collecting valuable pieces of art and culture, the Louvre has created this sense of brand equity that now the assets they continue to curate will appreciate in value by way of being underneath that umbrella and that brand. And you're starting to see similar things happen with these internet native brands like Flamingo, like Archive, like Hidden New York or New Bottega, right? The screenshots that they take and put on these curatorial accounts help drive trends forward. And so that sense of curation is super interesting.
Yeah, so that's a super dope idea. Basically, it's this like bi-directional relationship by which by curating, you're building a brand for yourself as a curator, and the pieces inherently become more valuable. And that like really got me thinking around all of these things that we are curating either directly or indirectly in our lives. So yeah, I wrote about how this idea really struck me, which at once was hidden in obscurity and then once plainly presented is so obvious that you wonder how you never made the connection yourself. Our lives are curated. What we watch, eat, listen, read, and even think of is the result of often invisible forces that architect our available choices. To speak about the Louvre, we only see 35,000 of the nearly 600,000 owned works by the Louvre at a time. So think about that. Publications are the final product of countless edits and stories left on the cutting room floor. The sequencing of editorial playlists and radio stations is presented to us without our permission. So the invisible hand of curation is a nudge. Decisions made to architect what choices are presented to us inevitably impact how we interact with the world around us, and brands like the Louvre have an immense role in determining what our culture chooses to value. So think about that with social media. We saw a transition of curatorial power from brands to service providers. Algorithms are increasingly taking on curation responsibilities, mining ever-growing data sets to harvest our attention to service the right ad at the perfect time. Don't get me wrong, these acts are not often malicious. With the amount of information available to us growing at an accelerated rate, it stands to reason we are in desperate need of someone or something to tell us what to pay attention to. Yet, shouldn't we, the people responsible for creating culture, be the ones to curate it? I think so, and believe on-chain data can get us there. With on-chain data, culture curation is being decentralized. We collect not only art, but ideas. Provenance validates we have been the man in the arena, so to speak. Our verifiable actions build our reputations. Never before have we had a holistic approach to defining one's taste. In Web 2, your actions are permissioned, siloed, and opaque. The data transcribing these actions live in their walled-off gardens and only occasionally come out to play. Maybe I can see a few of the Spotify playlists you make publicly available, or a regrettable like on your Instagram feed, which came about as you were aimlessly scrolling late one night. We've all been there. Please do not go back to 2017 and like photos. In Web 2, your data profile is like a strip mall. Each shop has its own door and displays its wares. The shops may share walls, i.e. you, but each is unique and access is limited. In Web 3, your data is more like a Lego set, composable. Each piece can connect to all the other parts. As more data comes on chain, this interoperability will provide the most accurate representation of who you are. Creation will become multi-hyphenated. You won't just be an early collector of X copies. To the world, you will be a purveyor of CCO art who anticipated an early nouns proposals, wrote about intellectual property on Lens Protocol, and collected Fred Wilson's piece on creator royalties. Individuals could earn curation scores that measure actions, participation, and engagement with one's ideas over time. I see the open nature of on-chain data expanding our definition of curation. With every transaction we sign, we leave behind an ever-growing digital fingerprint. Our actions become a blueprint for our identity. Every action we take implicitly curates how we represent ourselves to the world. Knowledge of this fact can be used to lead with intention. Knowing what we say, do, and buy will stand the test of time, forever immortalized in code. So, are you interested in becoming a curator? Here are some actions you can take to begin building out your on-chain footprint. 1. Claim your Lens profile and start posting. Lens posts are indexed on Polygon and are a great way to start publishing your thoughts on chain. I highly recommend setting up a change action to publish your tweets to Lens automatically. You can find the link here in the newsletter. You'll have to enable dispatching on your Lens profile first, and then make sure you follow me at Austin_Hurwitz.lens. Publish your blog to on-chain publications. So just like Lens, start using things like mirror.xyz, where you can find this newsletter and paragraph XYZ, which I occasionally post to as well. As I mentioned, I published my newsletter on Substack, and then I syndicated it on Mirror. Mirror's made it really easy to literally just take the URL after you publish, drop it in, and then make it on-chain there. One thing that I will call out here is be very careful when you are publishing things on-chain that you only publish them on-chain once. Reason being, if you're going to create any sort of like collectible market around your content, you want it to be very clear that you're not having duplicates out there. So your same newsletter should not exist on Mirror and Paragraph as NFTs. One thing I've been doing a lot with my podcast as well is I've been slowly adding all of my videos to LensTube. LensTube allows you to enable collection, so people can either collect for free for a set amount of time. They can pay a set amount of Matic. I haven't enabled collecting on any of my historical podcasts because I've already released them on Zora and on Manifold for, I think, the first 6 episodes. So moving forward, I'm probably going to experiment a bit more. But something I always keep in the back of your head is like you want to build trust with your collectors. So it's not just about like curating and putting your thoughts out there, but it's also creating a collectible market. And then that's a perfect segue into start collecting ideas. So Lens, Mirror, Paragraph, Zora, wherever you can find content, there's a variety of places. You should start collecting ideas that you vibe with, even if it's really small. A lot of these like Mirror posts you can collect for $5 just to show that you were there early, that this is an idea that you identify with, and you're creating provenance, and that in and of itself is valuable, even if the collectible doesn't become valuable. Fun fact I like to point to, so Kevin Rose, who a lot of people will know from the Proof company, he minted his first episode of Modern Finance on Zora over a year ago to little fanfare. And he minted that. I believe it was purchased for like 3.5 ETH at the time. Wonder how much that episode would be worth now. Since I posted this as well, there's been like a pretty big resurgence isn't the right word, but like a surge, if you will, of podcast NFTs. Bankless just dropped their collectible with the SBF Eric Voorhees debate right before SBF, like everything imploded with FTX. They sold 100 of those for 0.05 ETH each. Last I checked, the floor was at like 0.4. Seen people like obviously myself, Rehash has been doing collectible podcast NFTs for a minute. You can find all their episodes on LensTube. And then Adam Levy is someone I take a lot of inspiration from, has been doing that as well. Participating in on-chain governance. So Downs like Nouns and its Nounish offshoots regularly host votes concerning how to use treasury funds with community members. Be sure to check if your community is voting on chain. Snapshot in and of itself is hosted off chain. That is not a bad thing. Just know, is it going to be unstoppable on chain, or is it hosted on off chain servers? Compound governance is a famous example of governance that's held on chain. So, and that is what Nouns uses. And last thing, if you're reading this, you're probably already doing it. Collect NFTs. So something you're already doing. And yeah, when I dropped this originally, you had to be doing it because it was token gated. Now that it's on my newsletter, yeah, we haven't token gated yet, but more on that to come. So not just podcast NFTs, but like all content and media and art, proof of participation NFTs, soulbound badges, membership passes, really. And we'll see more and more types of data come on chain, which will all help to not only curate your identity online, but really build a representation of who you are to the world. So that is some ideas for how you surface your on-chain signal. I think curation is going to become increasingly important in an on-chain world. And who knows, maybe you'll become a modern day on-chain Medici. So that's it for this week. I just wanted to experiment. So let me know if you guys like this. If you want to see me do this every week, happy to continue reading them. Maybe we can play around with the format a bit. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys later.